Hello, it is Friday the 13th of December. I'm going to take a look at the technicals for Bitcoin and some stocks and some crypto related charts, and I hope everyone's doing okay. I have been a little bit kind of wary around this $100,000 price point in Bitcoin, and mainly because the first half of December sometimes can be a little bit rocky and funky, especially in stock indexes. If we're going to see a bit of a nasty pullback, that's when it tends to happen, and it can drag everything down. And let's face it, 100,000 is a big fat round number, kind of profit taking point, I think, for Bitcoin. But what we're seeing is massive inflows into these ETFs. So, the chances of a bigger reversal, I think, are for the birds. And I'm getting a little bit more confident. This is what I mean about, this is an interesting chart posted by Zero Hedge yesterday, which is the seasonal, it's basically seasonality for the S&P for December. And this is based on data going all the way back to 1928. So that is 96 years of data. And we can see this is the dip that I kind of was a little bit concerned about. And we can see that the second half of the month, if we follow the seasonal pattern, is super bullish. So the chances of a massive rollover in stocks at this moment that's going to, drag crypto down with it is kind of fading, I think, once we get through this weekend, and looking pretty good. So that's where we are with that. Let's take a look at where we are with Bitcoin then. Now, last time I looked at Bitcoin, we had a big kind of fib projection level up here at 102,000. And for the last 2 weeks, we haven't been able to close underneath it. Yesterday, we tested it in a pretty textbook fashion, and the day before. The last 2 days, we've tested this level and haven't been able to get above it. And we had a little bit of a reversal yesterday. Is this a reversal of the trend, or the trend for this week? I have to say it's not. And the main reason I think that, so let's go down to the hourly chart from here. So here was our big level, 102,000, which we kind of did a funky swing failure double top at. But for me, if we're going to see a bigger pullback from this level, we've got to break that 236 fib from the low lows. And the low lows is this big correction that we started with the nasty shakeout last Thursday. And so we are sideways at this 236 fib level, and we're sideways at all of these hourly moving averages. And unless we break this little consolidation that we're making here, the chances are that we could just continue higher. When I look at some other charts and the pullbacks that we're making in those, some of the bigger alts, I think that there is quite a chance that we do see a bigger pullback from here. And my kind of theory that even if stocks hold up, that we see some pretty nasty sideways price action into the big options expiration on the 27th of Bitcoin still holds. I do think the market makers are going to try and keep us in this kind of $100,000 $90,000 price range until then. And if we get a Santa rally in Bitcoin, it might be a little bit later, the very, very last week of the month. And that's just due to positioning, nothing else. Now, all of the massive inflows, of course, into ETFs could blast us out of this range, but it just makes it very tricky, choppy trading. And is it a great place for a kind of is buying at 100,000 the greatest place to buy for a longer term hold after, we've rallied so hard and we're up kind of 50% so fast? I really don't think it is. I see people on Twitter saying, we're never going to be underneath 100,000 again. And I'm sorry, it's a pretty volatile market, and this is a pretty choppy, gritty month. So I think better opportunities come, if not in January, at least at the end of the month. So this is also, this 236 fib retrace from this low is also this big round number 100,000. So I think it's going to be a little bit choppy here. But when I look at some of the others, it's pointing to, unfortunately, a little bit lower. For example, Ripple. So I like Ripple. I'm pretty bullish Ripple because of this lovely overlapping measured move price action correction we're making. But are we ready to break out of this consolidation and see our next swing higher? If we do the same thing here from this low in Ripple, we've just broken underneath this 236 fib. We had a big fight over it overnight. I was wondering if it was holding. And so I think that if this first swing is over and we are likely to see a little bit of a bigger pullback here, I was wondering what would happen if we could break out of this channel or not. And for now, therefore, we're staying in the channel, and holding underneath 2.34 kind of confirms it. And we could, you know, in all of these, we could come all the way back and retest the lows and make a big kind of typical crypto double bottom and still be bullish. For me, though, I think the bigger level that I'm watching in the middle is around 2.11. So if you're stalking a bit of a pullback long in this one, I think that that's potentially where we come back to. There's 2.24 and 2.11 in the middle of this consolidation. But I really don't, I have to say, it's my least favorite thing, diddling in the middle of a consolidation like this. Solana as well, I have been looking for stalking, if you like, a breakout in Solana from here on the daily. Here's our very nice three-wave correction. We had a swing low, 1, 2, 3 in the middle, A, B, C, and another swing lower. We bounced in textbook fashion from this 204 pullback level that I was stalking. In fact, in Solana, if we go to the weekly, you can see all the way from the low back in December 2022, this lovely level is also this 236 fib retrace. It's a swing highs from earlier this year. So a really good level to find support from if we are going to continue to trend higher. That doesn't mean that we're not going to test it twice or maybe see a higher low. And so we are still in that gritty December consolidation, unfortunately. So again, how much are we going to pull back? If you're looking at this at short-term trading, so me, I'm out of my long because that I bought here. And the main reason I'm out of my long is, I'm going to put my fibs on, we could not hold this 236 fib level here at 227 overnight. I kind of hope that if back to this swing low and this level would hold, and it hasn't, we've got a bearish cross of our hourly moving averages, and we're setting up a bigger pullback, maybe halfway back, maybe somewhere back to the middle here, and maybe we do a full double bottom. I'm not sure, but I'm going to wait and see and wait for that bigger pullback, and I'm going to keep these fib retrace levels on from this low and see which one we bounce from, because I see fib levels as like a ladder. So each one we bounce from, if we get above the one above, we're kind of looking for that to be support, and we reverse the trend, climb higher. So these bigger kind of blue chip, higher cap alts are pointing to a little bit of a bigger pullback. How about ETH, which has been, and I talked about yesterday about why MicroStrategy is pretty weak and also pointing to correction, still in correction mode. So ETH, again, like Solana, if we in this one, if we go all the way back to the lows that we made in August 2022, ETH is a little bit more bullish because we're holding this big 236 fib retrace level at 3,613, and we're just kind of trading sideways. So for me in ETH, I really kind of don't see a trade either way. We have got completely flat hourly moving averages. We've got completely flat sideways 4-hour moving averages. In terms of swings though, I think that we are setting up another swing lower. And if I measure from the low last Monday, this week, here we are sitting on the 236 fib level, just like Bitcoin. It comes in at 3,869. For me, if we close underneath this, or see a strong move underneath this, this whole swing from the low on Monday is over, and we're likely to see a bigger pullback. And again, I'm just going to go level to level to level. 3,796, and the 50%, 3,737. Underneath, you know, all of these levels were likely to try a bounce but we could come all the way back to the lows of this range, which would put us back to that 236 fib level, 3,600, and is where that big important 236 fib from the lows this year are. So bigger pullbacks, pointing to those in all of the bigger, or some of the mid caps that, you know, the real, I know I'm going on about dinosaur coins, but some of them are, these pullbacks are, I think, real opportunities. This is Chainlink, weekly chart of Chainlink. So if we look at this one from the high that we made in 2021 to the low that we made in 2023, there's no way you can argue. This is a very lovely three-wave move. Whenever you see a big ABC three-wave move like this, the most common retrace, let me take all this other noise off. You trade level to level to level, you expect to wobble in the middle at 50%, which we had, but the most common retrace of this ABC pattern minimum is a 786 fib, which is up here at 42. So, and when I look at this swing, this was very clearly 5 waves, lovely, 3 waves back. This is what a trending market looks like. So then when we look at what we've done since July this year, we've had a wave 1 and a wave 2 and a really strong wave 3, which is what you want to see. So we're due a wave 4 here and then a final leg high, which in crypto, very often the 5th wave is the strongest, stronger than the previous. So here we are, we've paused at this 50%. I was looking to see if we were going to hold above it to continue higher. So 28.85, if we can hold above that this week, we are likely to continue higher. But if we hold underneath it, remember this 38.2 then becomes important support on a pullback in a wave 4. And so this is one that I'm stalking into January because this is setting up for another bigger, stronger leg higher. This isn't done yet, and quite honestly, wave 3s can be so strong. We could do a wave 4 and make a wave 5, and then this we could see a bigger pullback of this back to this level again, and this could just be wave 1 of the next really big, you know, wave higher in link. So all of these that you're looking at and you think, oh, they've gone without me. I talk to a lot of people who think I was really not fast enough. I haven't made as much money as I wanted to this year. You know, these are all really good charts that we can stalk for really bigger moves, I think. They're not finished yet, let's put it that way. If anybody is thinking that the high is in or we're done, honestly, it's for the birds. So another chart that's looking a bit like this. Sorry, I should finish on link. I will keep covering this one because now there is a rule that says if you reverse at a 50% retrace like this and you break under this 38.2, that you will see a bigger 50% pullback, and that could maybe start to look like a bigger, maybe just not the bullish pattern that we would want it to be. So this kind of swing high in this 22 level becomes really important bull bear line for link. That doesn't mean we can't look underneath it, but we really don't want a weekly close or a monthly close underneath that level. So shorter time frames, you know, I just think it's a really good place. Like shorter time frames here, you know, this, we've got a pretty interesting pivot level. We might not even come back this far. But this is kind of one of those levels where I would have an alarm when we come back here to see what happens, or 50% of this swing back into these moving averages. And I'm looking for this one to turn higher. I'm not sure that this party is over in link, and I'm just stalking long entries. Not one here. When I see one, I will post it. Same in SUI, which is become a little bit of a darling of the market. I know people feel like a lot of people are pumping this, but you know, this is not a meme coin. This is infrastructure, and this one also has an ETN, which means you know, crypto projects that have real infrastructure and ETN mean that they are interesting for institutional buyers, and so this is why I think this is a good one to watch. Now again, I'm going to go out to the weekly, and this one for me has really kind of respected the targets that I have. Let's put regular candles on here, and for me, when they get above the important ones, they're holding the support. And so this one, I'm not sure that this one is done. I still think that we can buy pullbacks in this one, and a bigger pullback back to this previous swing low here at 3.24, or back into these weekly moving averages in the new year. Remember, trending markets, which this one clearly is, usually have 5 waves, and so a pullback to the previous swing low. If this is 5 waves done here, this is another one I'm stalking. I just don't think that these are all done yet. This is not an entry in this one. Here's one though that maybe is setting up a pretty nice entry, and that's H bar. Now, when we look big picture at this weekly chart, again, this is lovely, 5 waves, and this is another one that's like Chainlink, that's spent so long building this base in the wilderness, 2022 to 2024, and in the last couple of weeks we have smashed through this 236 fib level that was previously important resistance. We've smashed above the weekly 200 moving average, and we've smashed through these fib levels as well. We've paused though at this 61.8 fib level. So this is fib retrace levels from this high to low. And I've said this before, when you get into the 61.8, 38.2, this becomes a golden ratio zone. They call it this in the middle here. And it's kind of where the bulls and bears tend to fight it up, and you have a lot of back and forward. And we've done a textbook move this week in this golden ratio zone the last 2 weeks, and quite often at the 50% level is a little bit of a pivot level in the middle, which we're seeing very nicely in this chart. We can see it even more clearly here on the hourly. It was support, then it was resistance last week, and the same thing here we are underneath it. And whilst we're in this zone, to be honest, we tend to go back and forward, trying to figure it out and who's going to win. But when I look at this on the weekly, let's go back to this weekly, it certainly looks like this is a wave 2. We're in a wave 3. I see this as a wave 4, and I think we're setting up another leg higher. And if we think this was a 5 waves up, 3 waves back, this 786 at least should be a minimum target. But the way this is performing, I think we should maybe see new highs from this one. So it's a matter of stalking an entry, and I think perhaps in the new year this is a chart that it might not go this month while Bitcoin is stuck sideways, but this is definitely one on my watch list for the next big swing higher in the new year. Now sometimes when you do this golden ratio zone, instead of going up to this 786 next, you come back to this 236 fib down here. So if we were to come back down here and test this high and back to 0.16, if we were to get, say in the new year, a nasty shakeout, I think this would be a little bit of a gift, because if this, it would need to be, a sharp move down and then reverse. It's not by any means a guarantee that we're going to go there. More likely we are going to stay in the middle of this range, which means any dips back to this kind of 0.24 level. So if we were to try a double bottom or something like that, that would be a buy. Also, I think if we can hold above this midpoint at 0.31, or if we were to draw this as a flag, which we could also argue that it is, a breakout of this kind of flag would be a long as well. One thing I would point out, like sometimes, because we've only got 2 touches on either side, one of the Elliott wave rules is, we could make this a little bit lower, but when you break out of a parallel channel, you kind of tend to keep going. So we could see a false breakout here, to the top of this channel, and if we dropped back into the channel, that would be a false breakout. But definitely, just like Ripple and Solana, which are making these very nice three-wave corrections, I think H-bar is doing another one with a really neat, clear target on the upside. I'm going to look at a few more. I'm also a big fan of privacy coins at the moment, but let's take a look at a few more that people think are done, and I'm not sure that they are. XLM is one of them. Now, let's tidy up my chart and we'll start from scratch here and talk about why. So, doesn't this chart look like see this lovely long base in H-bar? Doesn't this chart in XLM look pretty much exactly the same, although we've bounced a little bit higher? For me though, we didn't quite tag this 786 fib, and 61.8s are messy, and I have to say, either way you look at it, we've got the same pattern: 5 waves up from the low in 2020, 3 waves back down to this 2023 low. Long time making a really strong base, fantastic launch of it. So we've gone 1, 2, 3, I think we're in a wave 4, and we've got another swing higher in this one. And so this is another one that I'm stalking also. Now we could say that this 38.2 level here could be support, and if we, again, if I look at it on the daily, we're doing a very similar thing with these corrections. For me though, holding underneath this daily 20 moving average means we might go sideways a bit whilst we wait for this 50 to catch up, or a bigger correction. Very bullish chart for me. It's just I'm not sure the bottom is in, but this is on my watch list for the next swing higher this month or in January. Very, very similar to the pattern that we just looked at in H-bar. Now the support, ideal support here at 0.34, we haven't quite tagged yet. This is one that we could come back a little bit further to 0.24, but I'm stalking it. And another one very similar is XMR. Let's talk about why in this one. Now, this one we could argue, this is not quite so clear, isn't it? If we look at the 2015 lows in Monero, this is a privacy coin. So 1, 2, 3, this is an ABC, right? So if we apply the reverse of the same rules, so this was a textbook, look, equal measured move, 1, 2, 3, we tagged our equal measured move target. The most common retrace of this is a 786 fib. That's where we're bouncing from, and we've double bottomed. When you bounce from a 786 fib, which we've just done in Monero, your confirmation of a bullish reversal is above the 61.8. So this is where on a pullback we need to hold a support. It's at 198 in Monero, and if 198 holds a support and you reverse it to 786 fib, your first target is up here at this 38.2, which is 320. So if 198 holds a support, I'm looking for 320 next in Monero, and here we are a little sideways at this level on the weekly. I'm looking for this to hold on a weekly. It's very volatile, but 198, if that holds, I'm stalking a long entry in this one. If we look at it on the, it's just a little bit like Bitcoin. It's very choppy and sideways, but if everything goes and takes off in January or at the end of this month, I think that this one for me has a really nice clear target. So it's not an entry today, but it's one that I'm stalking, or might not be. Like, certainly if Bitcoin blasts out of this range that it's in, this would be and then everything else follows. This is definitely going to be on my watch list. So this would be my first target, right? 320. Sometimes though we go a little bit higher, and the second target would be 395 in Monero. Those are the two targets I'm looking for if 198 holds and the world doesn't end. Might the world end? You know, I think if this, if this was just a bearish ABC measured move from this low double bottom, we've kind of blasted beyond that here. And so I wouldn't be so happy back underneath 189 or underneath this weekly 200 moving average. but you can see we're holding it pretty nicely so far. If we go down to lower time frames, yeah, we've had the nasty dip back to that weekly 200 moving average and found support. So I'm stalking this one. Okay, if you are interested in crypto related stocks, there's a few I think that are pretty interesting at the moment. Let's take a look at those. Pull some more charts over here. First one we're going to look at is Hut8, which is a Bitcoin miner that's basically moving into AI and a hyper-scaling facility. They're building a 12 billion project in Louisiana. That's like 6 times their market cap. But that, you know, miners aren't scared of that because they invest a lot in infrastructure to make money. And this stock is really interesting. You know, if we look at all of the charts that we've just looked at, 2022 to 2024, really nice building a base, has blasted. If we measure from this high to low, we've blasted above this 236 fib resistance level. There's a few ways we can look at this. Like if this is a big ABC, right, which it kind of looks like, then the most common retrace was a 786. We've actually gone beyond that. But this to me looks like a lot of potential when we see this, because this swing clearly has gone beyond the measured move target. So when you break above a 236 fib like this in Hut8, you shouldn't close back underneath it, and it's a really strong pivot level. So if this pullback that we're seeing, as long as we hold 22.53 on a weekly close, I think it's a really nice opportunity on the long side, having built this really big base. So what, you know, there's a few charts that we've seen that look, Chainlink, you know, is all the way up here now, having built a base that looks just like this. So if we can hold 22.53, I'm looking for 34 and 43 next on the upside here. Now we could argue this looks like a big ABC, doesn't it? But actually this looks to me like this was a wave, the very typical crypto wave 5, the strongest. This looks like wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that means that if we do 5 waves in a 3-wave correction, even a really steep one, which is normal in a wave 1, not normal but common, our first target is actually this 61.8 level up here at 54. So we can buy a pullback to 22.53 if that holds. Don't be scared if it spikes underneath it. The weekly close is important, and the next upside target would be 54. So this is a good one I'm stalking as well for pretty good reasons. Another one that's been in the news is, you know, a lot of these miners are jumping in to join the MicroStrategy HODL Bitcoin strategy. Riot is one of them, Riot Platforms. I think a lot of, when I look at this, like we could argue about what this chart has done before, but when I look at what we've done from the high in 2021, this looks like a very nice 3-wave pullback, which means that for me the usual target is a 786, which is up here, but the main resistance, which is where we failed when we tried in the summer, was this 236 fib level, and 21.24 then is the level that we've got to get above. This one has a lot of trouble from these monthly moving averages at the moment. If we look at them on the weekly, you can see what I mean. It's this weekly 200, but we could also, like a lot of charts, we can say, look, 5 waves up, 3 waves back. This we could make, this is not a flag because the flag is too big relative to the pole, but it is a very choppy overlapping sideways correction zone that we should be, I think, stalking a breakout from. We can draw it like this, and the weekly 200 moving average above it would be our breakout. We're looking for a retest of the highs, and then if we can hold above it, 21.24, we're looking for 32, 28, and so on. Again, this is holding sideways, but I like how we're getting a bullish cross here of our weekly 20 and 50. It's kind of setting up very nicely. In fact, if we look lower here, we've got the similar kind of sideways consolidation. Now, if crypto goes in quiet and choppy until year end, this is not going to help this chart. But when Bitcoin goes, I think this one will go with it. No, maybe not in the, MicroStrategy is a little bit overdone, but this might be another one setting up very nicely in Riot Labs. So let's go back out to the weekly again. Just one that I'm stalking and a good chart to watch. Okay, let me know if there's anything you'd like me to look at.